In the early 1960s, pop music followed a highly predictable blueprint. The industry's architecture relied on standard three-chord progressions designed for immediate familiarity and radio play. Brian Wilson looked at the recording studio differently. He viewed the space as a specialized instrument to translate specific, private emotions into sound. His musical education came from the dense four-part vocal arrangements of jazz groups like the Four Freshmen, rather than standard rock and roll. He learned to cluster vocal notes at extremely close intervals. This technique allowed him to engineer specific sensations, alternating between a feeling of overwhelming warmth and one of profound isolation. This jazz foundation provided Wilson with a sophisticated harmonic vocabulary, allowing him to bypass the rigid commercial formulas that defined the era's rock music. As his writing progressed, Wilson moved away from standard chord movements. He began using harmonic ambiguity to create a more complex emotional experience. His major technical breakthrough was bassline separation. Standard pop anchors the bass to the root note. Wilson broke that link, allowing the bass to move independently. By holding a third or fifth interval, he offset the foundation, creating structural instability. You can hear this in the opening of God Only Knows. The melody floats over these unstable inversions, making the listener feel musically untethered, which mirrors the vulnerability of the lyrics. He also utilized the pedal tone. In this arrangement, the bass stays locked on one recurring note, while the chords shift and descend above it. These specific mechanical choices, the inversions and the pedal tones, allowed Wilson to build a physical sense of emotional tension that only finds relief at the moment of resolution. This innovation was driven by intense pressure. Wilson worked within a professional environment shaped by his father and manager, Murray Wilson, whose heavy-handed control left him with significant emotional scars. Wilson sought validation by competing with the industry's top producers. He was obsessed with Phil Spector's dense wall of sound, though Wilson chose to refine those massive textures with classical precision. This local drive expanded into a cross-Atlantic rivalry. When Wilson heard the cohesive artistic statement of the Beatles' Rubber Soul, he felt challenged to move beyond the concept of the 3-minute single. Wilson responded with pet sounds, using the studio to build textures far beyond the capabilities of a standard rock band. He achieved this by blending traditional rock instruments with unconventional textures, including theremins, accordions, and the intricate percussive sound of the harpsichord. This rivalry shifted the priority of the industry. The studio was no longer just a room for recording performances. It became a high-stakes environment for the construction of the album as a unified artistic statement. The sensitivity that allowed Wilson to construct these intricate vocal tapestries also left him exposed to profound psychological distress. In late 1966, Wilson was in his car when he heard the advanced sonic landscapes of Strawberry Fields Forever on the radio. He reportedly pulled the car over and wept. He felt the Beatles had finally reached the musical destination he was still trying to find. For Brian Wilson, songwriting was a rigorous, intentional process. Every unexpected chord modulation and every layered vocal harmony was a deliberate mechanism used to navigate his own emotions. This harmonic vocabulary acted as a physical anchor for his sensitivity. By using these complex arrangements, Wilson gave a rigid, structured form to an internal experience that often felt constantly in flux. This was brought to you by Notes and Silences. Thank you for listening.